All right. So that was some music that my guest picked out today. Maybe I'll let her introduce the young man who was singing. Today I'm being joined by Manon Ramon, who is a painter who had an exhibition here at the LaGuardia Gallery. And Dina Pizzarella, who is the director of that gallery, uh, put us together. And welcome to the show, Manon.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about who we were listening to there.
That was Peter Mcporland, and he is my all-time favorite artist. He lives in New York. I've seen two of his shows. I'm a little bit obsessed with him. I think every song he makes, it's magical. So yeah, very happy to hear it now.
Well, he has a great voice, and one of the things that I noticed, I don't know if you noticed this too, is whoever's producing his videos has a thing about color temperature. So, for example, that whole video was blue, but I'd seen some other ones where there was some, playing with light, the colors of light, and which remind me a little bit about your paintings. I don't know if you share that affinity or pick that up yourself.
I did not pick that up, no, but funny that you mention it.
Okay. So I told you a little bit how we do the show. Why don't we start with you telling us a little bit about your background and your studies and things like that?
Right. I was born in Belgium, and I did my high school partly in the Netherlands, then went back to Belgium and I studied film, studied to be a director, which soon it became clear that that wasn't really for me and I needed to do something more with my hands. But I was really still into the whole film scene, so I started doing makeup for movies. And then that slowly turned to painting. And now I'm a painter.
That's it. So is when you say you had to start using your hands, that is because film is it's all video now and it's all done on a computer.
No, I needed to create something with my hands. I needed to literally get my hands dirty and not be so stuck in my own head because I feel like that's what directing is mostly about. You think everything over and over, and I kind of got stuck in that. And for me to
Right.
work with my hands, it's kind of meditative, and it makes me, yeah, empty my head. So the opposite.
How did you go? How far did you go with your studies?
I just till the end, and then that was it. I
Did you
studied
bachelor's or
some. Yeah,
anything?
it's a bachelor. It's in Belgium. It goes as far as a bachelor.
Yeah, because I got to tell you that if you ended up in graduate school with trying to get an MFA, then you would have been back in your head.
Right. Yeah, we don't have that in Belgium.
All right. So, I guess, and what kind of, I mean, do you support yourself through your painting, or is this, what role does painting play in your life? Is it the vocation or the avocation?
It's a full-time thing, but I'm lucky that I married someone who allows me to do this. I couldn't do this on my own. I couldn't sustain myself on my own in this city, at least.
Right. It's funny because
But it is,
I say that to my students, and they think I'm joking, but I say that, marrying well, marrying rich, is probably the best. Probably unless you are, of course, born rich or are the child of like a famous artist or something. Marrying, and that's I totally support that.
yeah. I didn't do it for the money though.
Of course, yeah, but it's helpful. So how did you find yourself getting, you know, at the LaGuardia Fine Art Gallery, the LaGuardia Gallery? How did that connection come together for you?
Well, I live in Greenpoint, and we have the Greenpoint Terminal Market that happens every weekend in the summer. And I did it for the first time a couple months ago. And I was there with my art. I had a couple of paintings, prints, and I had absolutely no idea what to expect. But it turned out to be a really wonderful experience. And that's where I met Dina, who said, I love your art. Would you like to do a show? And that's how it all started.
I mean, was Dina wandering through the space, or was she showing as well there? Or how,
She was wandering through.
And she picked you up. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting because you typically, I mean, it's kind of interesting because I don't know what happened during the pandemic. I mean, there's been a lot of issues with. I mean, at one point, the gallery, since nobody was coming on campus, we couldn't even, like they weren't even allowing Dina to come to the campus and deal with the exhibitions. In fact, I had there's a photography show that I was involved with where I had to come in and get the work out, at least partially. And then there was a sculpture show that was going on, and I was involved to some degree as far as like I think I got out a couple of pieces for the artist who was trying to sell them at the time, and but I think eventually he was allowed to come into the building, and so only recently has Dina been even allowed to come back, and it makes sense. Nobody was coming to the building, but now since the colleges, I think we're at 70%, or at least I'm told we're at 70%, face to face, that people are actually physically able to come and see things, or obviously work and take classes. That it made sense to start getting the gallery up and running again. And historically, and where and I guess we should be clear with the audience that the work is down, the show is over.
It is down.
And that's just whatever was the timing. I mean, I got Dina had been reaching out to me, and we finally got together a couple of weeks ago, and I don't know exactly when the show went down, but where exactly was the work hanging? It was paintings, right?
It was paintings, and if I'm correct, I don't know the college that well. In the presidential hall, is that a thing?
That's a thing. Well,
then I think it's there.
It's the fifth floor of the E building, and then you kind of walk down a very long hall from the elevator, and then right in front of the president's office and the people who run the IT, which are right, just to the other side of him. There's a small gallery there with lights that we put stuff in. So was it in that last little gallery there in front of the president's office?
It was in the long hallway.
Oh, in the long hallway. Well, that's nice, because what's good about that space is, I mean, when we were doing events on campus, a lot of people do, events on that floor in one of the main rooms. And so people can, they're walking through and they see. So it gives them an opportunity to see stuff there. And so Dina runs into you. She says, you have beautiful work. Would you like to do a show? What happens next? How did that process move forward?
Well, she asked me, so she was specifically drawn to the works on burlap. And she asks me, do you have more of that? And I had a little bit more, but not a lot. So I tell her, I do, but I'm very fast. I can paint more. So I think and then I met her at the college. She showed me the space, and then she said, I would like at least 6 more pieces. So I got to work, and it was a pretty firm deadline, but I made, I don't know how many more pieces. I've kind of lost count, but yeah, it was good.
How fast did that have to happen? I mean, how much time did you have to make 6 more pieces?
Like a couple weeks. I feel like 3 weeks. Yeah. But it's good. I work well under pressure.
Do you? I don't know. I'm a binge artist, which to define that basically means, I have a day-to-day job. It makes it very difficult to make time to make art. But then every once in a while, I'll get a chunk of time, like 2 weeks, a month, and I'll run. I'm a photographer, so I will run off, make a lot of work. That's how it works for me. But I'm guessing art's probably an everyday part of your life, right?
It is, but lately it's a lot of emailing and networking and replying to open calls, and it's to be an artist is so much more than just painting.
Of course. Well, again, and I didn't really tell you too much about myself. I teach photography, but I also teach art appreciation. And in those classes, I teach a couple of classes. Well, I teach Intro to Art, but I also teach a course called Art and Society, which is really about the role of the artist in the, and how, that plays a role in the art. And another one called Art New York, which is really about criticism. We get to see a lot of new shows. But I had a professor many years ago in graduate school who explained you have to kind of split yourself into three different roles, which is one is, obviously the art you make, but the work you have to do to support yourself financially. And the third is this self-promotion, which nobody likes to do. It's the going to the shows, it's the schmoozing, it's the sending out, information, it's the application. I mean, it's a lot of things, but it's marketing, and people, they don't know. Most artists I know, that's, of all the things they do, that's the thing they like the least. I don't know if that's your experience.
I'm very bad at it. My husband often laughs at me how when somebody's interested in a piece, he's like, go talk to them when they're looking. And I go talk to them and they're like, oh, tell me something about this. And I would go, oh, yeah, I don't really like this one. I made it when I was very sad. It took me like 5 minutes. Do you want a $200 discount? That is how I would do it. It's horrible.
Yeah, you probably need like a dealer, somebody who will talk for you.
Yes.
But the problem with those people is obviously you've got to give them. I mean, usually dealers take about half, especially if they're showing the work in their spaces. Yeah, that's not unusual. I mean, again, it's this peculiar thing where, it's hard to be good at art and also be good at business. You know what I mean? And to be good at life, that's a whole nother issue. But so so she tells you, I want 6 more pieces. You knock out the 6 more, and then came in and hung the show.
Well, actually, she hung the show.
Oh, she hung.
I was off to Canada.
Oh my gosh!
It was all very tight.
So did you even get? Well, I guess did you see the show when it came down, or did you get to see the show at all?
Didn't.
Oh my god!
I know, because I came back from Canada, and the day after, I had 2 days. I had another show, so it was like boom, boom, let's go. So yeah, I didn't get to see the show.
Well, it's good that I think it's important, in her role, Dina's role, to hang and take shows down. I mean, it's pretty complicated. One of the biggest issues we have here at the college is that, the folks in the administration, the maintenance people who take care of the buildings, are busy. So I don't know if like if you had had a lot of dealings with galleries.
A medium amount, I would guess.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, I worked for art dealers, and I worked in galleries and museums. And it's like every show, you take it down. First thing you got to do is you got to put the place back together. You have to repatch the walls. Sometimes you got to paint the place. Those are not options at the college, at least not in the normal timeline. When that happens, to get to get something painted could take, years. The backlog. So one of the things that Dina has to deal with all the time is the ability to put shows up and down without too much damage to the walls, so that she, because nobody wants to look at art and then, you can see all the holes from the last show around it. So it kind of complicates things. But so I guess it's important that she I was just guessing though, I mean, personally, I like to hang my shows if I can, if for no other reason. I can give feedback, but I'm also prepared to let go of that if, what did you do in Canada? What was going on there?
It was a holiday.
Oh, really? Okay.
Just
that's
cruising
important.
with my dog and my husband.
The beauty of being an artist is that everything counts. It doesn't matter what you do or where you go. It all feeds you, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about, your pictures. I mean, we're going to take a look at some of the ones that were actually in the show after the half-hour mark. But why don't you tell us a little bit about the things you've chosen to be your subjects and your process and your painting style?
I'm very drawn to women, and that started from the very first moment that I started painting and drawing. But it's only recently that I figured out where that came from, and it comes from words English difficult. the opposite of confidence, insecurity. It comes from insecurities about my body, and I like, yeah, ever since I was a teenager, I just felt really my own body, and I was never skinny enough, or never pretty enough, or smooth enough, whatever. Um, and by painting, that kind of leads me to accept that there are multiple forms and everybody's different, and it's all beautiful, really. So that's where that comes from.
Yeah, I mean, whenever because I have found myself teaching art history. I mean, Intro to Art is a kind of an art history light, but I found myself, teaching, prehistoric to Gothic. I don't think I've ever taught Renaissance to modern. At one point, they were threatening, but I try to explain to students when we're going through different periods that, particularly in the Renaissance or the Baroque period, the voluptuous body was the waif model of their day, right? That now, of course, I don't know when it happened in the 90s. This notion of extreme emaciety, whatever, very thin people
Right.
became the style. And I try to explain that this is like it's taste, it's culture, it's all of these things. For example, I always loved the Venus of Willendorf, which is this tiny little sculpture that was found
Oh,
in
yeah.
Austria. And I say she was, this was it. She's a fertility object, but it's like, to be fertile, you need a lot of body mass, or at least it's helpful. And so this is once again, something that has to be done. But again, I know that all of us, I mean, everybody deals with that in adolescence, which is perfectionism. Your skin is never clear enough. What's hilarious now, though, that I find is now I'm older, very heavy set. I mean, I'm heavy, short little fat man. And I look back at these pictures of when I was thin, and people used to give me grief about that. And I see skinny kids, and I think, like, you don't know how good you got it. Just look, they're drinking milkshakes, they're eating hamburgers, and they're not gaining a pound. And but so it is a matter of taste. So when you choose, do you paint from life? Do you paint from life when you do your paintings?
I often use a photo reference,
right,
of sometimes my own body, but other times just what I find on. It's often pornographic pictures because I like to paint nude. So when you look up nude female body, you often get like those, yeah,
well, yeah,
soft porn pictures.
Yeah, and you'll also get you might get some bugs on your computer, right?
My computer is probably filled with bugs.
All right, and so when you're choosing them, you're looking for. I mean, are you looking for voluptuous women? Are you looking? What are you looking? What determines this body or this nude versus another?
That is a good question. I just kind of go for a nice shape, whatever speaks to me in the moment. I never think long about what I'm gonna paint. If I decide to paint, I pick my subject within like 5 minutes.
Oh yeah.
And it doesn't really represent the person in the picture. It changes and it takes on a different form. So you can't, if you put it next to each other, you might see it's the same kind of pose, but it won't be the same person.
Right. I also noticed that, well, when we look at the website, because you cut off the heads, like I saw one, I know there's one prominent female nude. It's a vertical, very,
Right.
very colorful, and it cuts off the head. So you're not interested in the head. You're interested in
I am. I tend to do heads separate.
Right.
Like I have portraits of faces, but yeah, I don't know why that is. I guess I just want to focus on one thing at a time.
Yeah, right. Well, it goes, when I came up as a fine art photographer, I studied art photography as a fine art. I found myself in an art program, and you had to take drawing. You had to take life drawing, and one of the things I learned, it's that people, older people, heavier people are much more interesting to draw than some sort of skinny athletic. More. There's just more information. to
Yeah,
make up the picture, and so it makes for something better in that sense.
I
Not
agree.
that's your experience. And so when I say to my students, who are in the art program and taking drawing classes, like, yeah, that's who you want in there. You want some kind of heavy set person. You want somebody who, older, wrinkles and things like that. I mean, I find it, as a photographer, I did a period in graduate school where I did nudes, but it was a very charged. It's a little more difficult for a man to make
Mm.
images, particularly photographs of naked women, than it is for a woman to do that, or even to do it in painting. I mean, is that something that comes up at all? The politics of the body or the gaze, or who's looking and who's making the image for you?
Not really, because I just kind of paint for myself, um, and as that therapeutic like thing that I need to feel good about myself, and there's no one else that needs to that's involved in that. And once the painting's done, it's different for everyone. I guess like it depends on who looks at it, what it becomes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, yeah. There's the how people are going to interpret things, what they see, and there's the you make it, and there's your feelings you have around the object, and obviously uh, how the audience sees it, you know,
Right.
is a whole nother piece of it. And Duchamp, the famous Dadaist, used to talk about, it's not finished until somebody sees it, until
Hmm.
it's in the museum, or it's in the artwork is not complete. It's not enough. So it's good that you have people looking at your work. I was going to say, when you talked about when it's finished, this is the question that all painters get. How do you know when the painting's done?
Uh, I mean, it's easier. I also make abstract work and like very abstract, just colors slapped on a painting, and that is impossible. Like you never know when it's done. You can keep adding layers, taking away things. At some point, you just gotta make a decision and stop. But with like these nudes, it is a lot of layers of color that go on it. But I have a very short attention span per
Right.
painting, so I don't like to work days on a painting. It would be finished within 2 days.
Yeah. It sounds, if you made 6 images in 2 weeks, then
Right.
it sounds about 2 days. But by the way, before we're gonna take a break in a couple of minutes. Uh, do you have any particular artists which are your go-tos or your favorites, or that you would even say have influenced the kind of work that you make?
There is an artist called Ash Holmes. I think she's somewhere in Australia, but she makes very abstract work. But she definitely influenced my more abstract side of things. As for the pieces that I'm working on now with the burlap, not really.
No, I didn't
No.
ask, but why did you choose to work on burlap?
It kind of came to be because my dad, um, I'm not gonna call him a hoarder, but he likes to collect things and he loves to browse secondhand websites for all sorts of things. And he loves a good deal. When he sees a good deal, he's not gonna step away from it. So one day he found this huge roll of burlap, and I think he paid $10 for it. Um, and he took it home and it was standing there for, I think, years. And then one day I was like, hey, wouldn't that be funny if I tried to paint on that? And then I tried it and here we are.
And Dina responded to it.
Yeah, a lot of people do. It's like my most popular work so far.
Yeah. What happens when the paint? Well, actually, we're at 11:29, so why don't we take a quick station break? The show is What's Going On. I'm your host, Hugo Fernandez. My guest today is Manon Ramon, who is a painter who had a show here at LaGuardia Fine Arts Gallery, or LaGuardia Gallery, which is under the directorship of Dina Pizzarello. And we've been talking a little bit about her work and her practice. And we're going to now move into actually looking at some images from her website that were in the show. So I don't know. I'm asking a lot of my engineer now, Mr. Pope, Chris Pope, who's going to have to figure out how to share the website on Twitch or through Skype and OBS. And he's on it. Very good. So, man, I don't know if you're watching the Twitch stream or not. He's got the main page. And you were saying that most of the work that was here comes from a section called For Sale, right?
Right. So if you go to the For Sale page, the first things, I see it too, yeah. The first things are the burlap paintings.
Chris says you can see this in Skype, like I can as well, right?
Yeah.
So are we in the sales page? Yeah. Well, here it comes. And by the way, this website, did you build it yourself?
I did, yeah.
This is part of self-promotion. What did you use? Squarespace or something? Or
I used Wix, which I can really recommend.
Yeah, I know that I've had people who've taught classes and had students using it. And what is it that you like about it that compared to other website platforms?
I didn't use any other website platforms. So this was the first one I tried, and it just...
With this one. Okay.
Yeah, it worked. So why should I try something else? Don't break it if it's broke. Don't fix it if it's not broken.
If it ain't Baroque, don't fix it.
That's the one.
Okay, so we're looking at here. We've got two nude torsos, or mostly middle sections, and then a face. All right. So.
Right.
Now, were these in the show? Chris, no,
the first two were.
Those.
The face wasn't.
Excuse me, the face one was in the show?
It was not, but the others were.
The other one was. I don't know if you know this, but Dina teaches the life drawing course. So she
told me,
she likes, people who can render well, who can draw well, and who can do the figure well. And in fact, she has like one particular assignment where she has them making life-size drawings that she complicates by putting another figure in there. Sometimes people use skeletons or mannequins and things like that, or other models. So I could see how she would be kind of drawn to it. By the way, if we click on one of these, what happens? Does it get bigger or?
It expands.
It expands. Chris, why don't you click on the first one? The $1,100 one. This is tough to do because people watching on. Okay, so I can see it here. I can really. Who photographs your art? Like who?
I do.
It's
a one-woman show.
And what are you using? Just your phone?
I have a camera. It's like a Canon D80. It's pretty dated, but it does the trick.
Do you do any kind of special lighting? How do you light it?
I try to do it in daylight, so I have a nice little rooftop that I go to.
Nice. Yeah, this is like, by the way, when I was in graduate school, people used to just make a living. This is before digital, of course. People make a living out of photographing other art students' work. So the fact that you could do it for yourself is helpful. And I'm picking up so that the burlap, which is the brown part, well, I guess it's all burlap, but the part that you don't paint on, you just leave it raw.
Yeah, I mean, it does have a layer of glue on it, just to keep it kind of in place and protect it a bit.
Yeah, but do you put that on before you put the paint on, or after you?
Yeah.
Did? So
I did that before because the paint otherwise also would go just through the burlap more easily because it's very porous.
Of course. So it'd be almost like it would be stained. It's almost like your gesso.
Yeah.
Right? The glue. So you were talking before though. This body is quite athletic. No.
That is true. Yeah. That's true.
And so
I guess I like to just mix it up a bit.
Right. I mean, I know that like I remember going to your first website, the first woman was a little more voluptuous, that I saw the torso. So let's talk about the color and how is that? Is this just like an expressionistic color, or is there what's going on with the color? How you lay it on, and
that is just all like quite spontaneous in the moment. I don't think about it. I just do it. I just this is when I go into like a zone and I'm not thinking. I'm just grabbing paint and slapping it on there, and I try to follow like the shadows and the highlights. But
Right.
yeah, I go in like a little trance, and then I have to step back, and I'm like, oh, that looks kind of nice, or that looks horrible.
And so before you lay on the paint, do you draw? Do you kind of draw out the figure, or do you literally
Yeah,
you draw with the paint?
I draw it out a little bit, but it's hard on the burlap, and you have to be very careful because you can't erase
Of course.
like from the burlap.
I think that's a good, again, with students, I've had faculty who would teach drawing using permanent marker because then they couldn't erase, because the kids are, I don't know if you've ever been to drawing class, but students tend to erase a lot. And they don't,
Right.
there are good, by the way, there are good ways to use an eraser. But, a lot of times it's like, again, this perfectionism and trying to get things right. And there's a lot of rubbings and things. But using the permanent marker, it would force them to fix what the so-called mistake. You've got to go forward. You can't go backwards, and which wastes a lot of time, by the way. Okay, Chris, take us out. Let's look at the next one. Oh, that's great.
That's the one that Dina saw, and that started this whole thing.
Right, and I mean, again, this woman's quite well. I wouldn't say, I'm not saying athletic, but in shape.
Right.
Again.
I think most of the burlap ones are pretty in shape.
Yeah.
Actually, there's one that has some rolls.
Has some what? Some rolls?
Rolls, yeah.
And these are, I mean, you're finding that this is like soft porn. Is that where you're getting these, or these, or?
I don't look up soft porn. It just, when you look into Google
Right.
and you put in female nude, then that's what you get.
Right. Let's keep going then. And of course, so this one wasn't in the show.
It was not. It's also not on burlap, this one.
And did you know this person?
No.
So you just liked her face, and you liked.
I think this is not from a picture. I think this is just from my head.
Oh, you just made it up. Very good.
I think so.
Okay, Chris, keep going. This looks like a kind of a classic life drawing class pose.
Could have been, yeah. I don't remember. I think it was a stock photo.
Oh, was it? I think I have a photograph that looks like this in black and white.
Maybe it's the same.
I mean, when I did my work, trying to find people who were willing to be photographed nude, I just went through. They would have like a book of all the models that worked for the art school. I just went through, and it was just, I mean, in the beginning, I was picking people, obviously, that interested me, but eventually I just went through the whole and got all kinds of types. But so probably started with some thinner people. Yeah. Let's keep going. One more. I like the way that the burlap really makes the body stand out.
Yeah, and it looks so much better in real life. I feel like these pictures, they don't do them justice. This is the very first one I made on burlap, by the way.
Oh, so you're saying that the reproduction of the paintings here on the screen don't do justice to the work itself?
No, there's so many layers of paint that you can like look at it for quite a long time and discover new colors, and
do you lay it on?
You don't see that on a picture.
Is there a lot of them, like impasto? Do you lay the paint on very thick?
Quite thick, yeah. I also sometimes use a medium to make the paint thicker and glossier. I use like multiple paints, multiple mediums to like add like more textures.
Oh, so you add things into the paint.
Yeah.
Okay, great. again, this looks like a classic life drawing. Almost this almost looks sculptural. You know, it kind of looks like a
Yeah.
it's like a torso. Is what's going on in I guess I haven't talked about nudes in a while. I'm trying to find a way to talk about in the waist section. Is that shadow or is she wearing something?
In my head, it is shadow, but if you think she's wearing something, then that is possible.
Oh, no, it doesn't keep going. So to me, it looks like a shadow, but it's just kind of interesting the way it falls. Some more? Is there more?
There is more.
Let's click.
This one was not in the show.
It looks like, so what are you still working in burlap for this particular one, or are you working on some?
This one was not, this was on canvas. It's pretty big.
Yeah.
I don't know the inches, but it's, yeah.
Because
more than 3 feet.
Yeah, because here it feels like, you know, you're allowing the drip thing to happen, which is.
Yeah, which came by accident, which is pretty fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It started as an accident, and then I just kind of went with it. That's how most things happen with me.
Right. Well, I mean, that's, you know, art. Again, you know, good artists take advantage of accidents.
Right.
Photography, I mean, if we didn't have accidents in photography, we probably wouldn't have much of a, you know, discipline. Want to keep going? That's next one. All right. Well, so I'm just going to say that, and by the way, your framing reminds me a little bit of what I try to do. I mean, there's many ways to do a nude, right? There's the complete body, and then there's the abstraction where or the, you know, kind of almost chopping up of the body to see if it can trigger other things or just sections of it. So your framing, I relate to it. But most of these women are in good shape. So the body type.
True, but
the body type.
If you go through my other work, you would see that there is more different shapes as well. But you're right, I didn't think about this, but there's a lot of quite thin women in this series.
I wouldn't necessarily. Well, gratefully they're not, you know, unhealthy. I mean, like I said, these are athletic folks. And I wonder about, you know, again, with our this period of life for students in college is they just so many pressures. And part of those are the physical, you know, the feeling okay with your own body. So I wonder, you know, having said that, the 5th floor is I don't know how many students actually make it up there. I mean, it's probably, well, I mean, and I know why, Dina, the space, obviously it's the President's Gallery. We want to have the top art on that floor. We want also, you know, folks who come and, you know, and there are certainly students who visit that floor, particularly the President's Council and all these folks. But you don't get the most students. It's interesting. I'm getting a text here from somebody in the art program. I'm wondering if she's watching your show. So it's about something completely different, though. So we're not going to deal with it at all. But I would, you know, I'd be interested to see what some of the reactions were of the exhibition. Is there more? I think we've got a couple of minutes for this quarter hour. Oh no, we already moved. What time is it? 12. Yeah, we got a couple of minutes. All right. Yes, again.
If you go one further, you
let's go
will
one.
see the rolls. Or no, I'm lying. It's further.
One more, Chris. He's going to let you pick from the.
There we are.
All right. So let's took it. Okay, very good. Yeah. And it's interesting that with this particular figure, which is a more robust, let's use that term, a robust figure, suddenly you're blue. There's a lot of blue.
Yeah.
You know, because I saw
I don't think that
palette.
means anything.
Excuse me?
I don't think that means anything.
It doesn't? Well,
No.
I don't know if it deliberately meant anything, but since you do speak about that you go into a zone and there are, I mean, obviously shadows. Like you have to explain this to students in the painting of shadows that there is no such thing as a black shadow. That shadows are made up of, you know, blues and violets and things like that. And again, so if there were a shadow element here, I just find that interesting that here one of the dominant colors is blue, which I don't think I don't know if we go back. Chris, take us out to the bigger, to the overall, you know, all of the pictures again. See what I mean? All of a sudden we go blue.
I do see what you mean.
The next one. I'm not putting you on the couch, Manon. I can't help but point stuff out as whatever I am. I don't know what I am. Okay, it's 11:45, so I did talk about that. I did want to kind of give you this last little bit of the. Oh, I love that total blue one. That's nice. Blue is my favorite color anyway, so. But take us out, Chris. You know, and so we could just talk again. But here, I see a kind of a voluptuous body there that's yellow. So, what's in the future? Because
oh well, I am working now on. So I'm going back to Belgium in August, and I have a show there, which is gonna be pretty low key. But when I get back in September, I am doing a show in New York, in Brooklyn, which has been in the works for almost a year, and it's about, well, the paintings that I made are based off of a sketchbook that I found, not my own, like I just found it here in Greenpoint. And I took it home and I used those sketches in those paintings. So I kind of enlarged them and I gave them color. And it's kind of like this intimate look that I got into somebody else's life. And yeah, I don't know who that is. I'm still trying to find them. But that's what the show is about.
The person you sketched?
No, the person whose sketchbook I found.
You found a sketchbook and
you're
taking pictures from it. That's interesting. Almost like I lost. By the way, there's usually at this point we also take comments questions. And so I will tell you on our stream there is somebody. Interestingly enough, I don't know if it's supposed to be Ugly Fernandez or Ugly Fernandez, but it's UGLY Fernandez, and they're saying this is so awesome. I've seen her work in person. It's so good, with a smiley face. So that's what we've got.
That is nice.
And there's about 5 people that are actually watching it, which is pretty good considering it's summertime here. So yeah, that's a quite intriguing. So is your hope that in doing this show and working from these sketches that possibly the person whose sketchbook it belonged to will walk in and say, "Hey, that's my sketchbook."
Exactly. That's what I'm hoping. I'm working on the marketing, but as we discussed, I'm not very good at that. But I do want to have like a little communal search. If we could like share it and yeah, if my friends would share it with people that have a sketchbook or art, people that sketch, and maybe in that way we could find them.
Well, maybe would Instagram work?
Yeah. And TikTok, I feel like there's lots of platforms that could help with that.
All right, and with the intention to be just to give the book back.
No, the book is gone. The book is in the paintings. I used the pages.
Oh my God! I didn't understand.
Yeah.
So you actually, so it's kind of a collage, or they begin.
It is, yeah.
Begin. Do you know what do you ever heard of the Exquisite Corpse?
I have not.
It was an old game that the Surrealists played where they would fold up a piece of paper and somebody would draw something but would leave on the very edge of the fold some little line or something, and then the next person, it would be folded, and the next person would make another work of art leading from those little lines, and then pass it on to a third or fourth person, and then you open it all up and you see what you have, and it's a kind of it's a collage, it's a psychic collage, and it's very interesting. There's a show at the Met, a recent show at the Met, that had celebrity exquisite corpses of all kinds of folks that have been collected over the years, and it's quite interesting. So hold on, I got to check to see. Never mind. Okay, good. Never mind. That was somebody sending me questions. Sometimes Dr. Riccio, who's our station manager, sends me text messages of questions that are going on the stream. So you got the show, the 2 shows coming up, and is there any talks about you coming back to LaGuardia, doing another show? Manon, can you hear me? Chris, have I frozen or is she? She has frozen. So our guest is frozen. I don't know what happens at this point. What do you suggest, Chris? We might have to just close the show and play some music. Okay, so we're giving Matt a couple of seconds. So if you're tuning in at this point, we're waiting for our guest to reconnect. I don't know if she has to, but our guest today has been Manon Ramon, who is a painter who had an exhibition here at the LaGuardia Gallery. She does some beautiful work, figurative work on burlap with paint, and we're on view in the President's Gallery, the long corridor which leads to the President's office. And now she's completely dropped out, and we may have to. So she is able to text. She is chatting to us and saying that she can't see or hear us. Oh, you're back, Manon. I see her. Can you hear us? Just sending her a little chat to see if she can hear us. Oh, you can hear me? I can. So I hear her, or I hear you. I hear you as well. So maybe I can just ask her. Let's ask her any last words.
Do all my marketing that doesn't exist yet.
Excuse me? Okay. Say that again. So I'm asking her to say it again. She can't hear us. We can only hear her.
I can hear you.
Oh,
back in business.
So Jeff, you're back. We can hear you. You can hear us. It's all
Perfect.
good. So
Sorry.
I just wanted to give you we got about, we got a few minutes, but one of the things is my engineer, Chris, wanted you to say your Instagram thing again one more time.
Oh.
So. And
the show is the 16th and 17th of September in the Thames Art Gallery. And sorry, I hear myself. And the Instagram is Monon Art.
Well, I just want to kind of thank you for being on the show and sharing all your work with us and sharing, your insights into your process. And I also want to thank Dina Pizzarello, director of the LaGuardia Gallery, for putting us together. You are part one of two shows that we're doing today. So we've got another show at 1 o'clock with Shanghai Kevin Yu, who also has his work is actually up right now, currently in that last little gallery of the President's Gallery. So we'll be talking to him today at 1 o'clock. But yeah, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
You got it. And for those who are watching, the show is What's Going On. And I've been your host, Hugo Fernandez, and my guest today has been Manon Ramon, who had an exhibition in the President's, whatever you want to call it, corridor that just went down. Very beautiful work. And maybe she'll come back again, show some work here at the college again. And I just want to thank everybody for watching and for listening. And we're going to go out with the music that we started this show with. Again, what's the name of our musical choice that you chose, Manon? Oh, now I can't hear you. You're muted again.
His name is Peter Mcporland.
Poland. Okay, so we'll see again. This time up, folks. Pay attention to the lighting, and you'll see what I mean with his videographer. Hopefully, this will be the case where we see some of that again. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you at 1 o'clock.